good day everyone. So we are going to tackle about the theory of moral development by Lawrence Kohlberg. So first and foremost, we are going to introduce Lawrence Kohlberg. So Lawrence Kohlberg was born on October 15, 1927 in Brocksville, New York. In 1948, he enters the University of Chicago and completes his bachelor's degree in psychology in 1 year. In 1949, began his doctoral work at the University of Chicago. In 1957 to 1958, he completes dissertation his doctoral research on the moral development of children. In 1968, as a result of his dissertation research, Kohlberg found professional fame. In 1969, he influenced by the kibbutz in his travel in Israel. Kohlberg returned to U.S. and found several Jazz communities. In 1971, while conducting cross-cultural work in Belize, Kohlberg contracts a tropical disease that plagued him physically and mentally for the next 16 years. In 1987, on leave from a Massachusetts hospital where he is seeking treatment for the above illness, Kohlberg commits suicide by drowning himself in Boston Harbor. He was only 59 years old.
So, theory of moral development. Kohlberg extended Piaget's theory, proposed that moral development is a continual process that occurs throughout the lifespan. Used Piaget's storytelling technique to tell people stories involving moral dilemmas. He based his theory upon research and interviews with groups of young children. A series of moral dilemmas were presented to these participants, and they were also interviewed to determine the reasoning behind the judgments of each scenario. So one of the best-known stories of Kohlberg in 1958 concerns a man called Hans who lived somewhere in Europe.
Moral development. Moral development is the gradual development of an individual concept of right or wrong, conscious, religious, values, social attitude, and certain behavior. So, moral development, ito ay isang proseso kung paano natuto or nahubog ang isang tao para makilala ang tama at mali.
This theory is a stage theory. In other words, everyone goes through the stage sequentially without skipping any stage. However, movement through this stage are not natural. That is, people do not automatically move from one stage to next as they mature. In stage development, movement occurs when a person notices inadequacies in his or her present way of coping with a given moral dilemma. According to a stage theory, people cannot understand moral reasoning more than one stage ahead of their own. For example, a person in stage 1 can understand stage 2 reasoning, but beyond that.
In Kohlberg's moral development, there are 3 levels of reasoning, which is the first is the pre-conventional moral development. Second is conventional moral development. Third is post-conventional moral development. There are also Kohlberg's 6 stages in each level of reasoning. So the first stage is the obedience and punishment. The second is naively egotistical. Stage 3 is good boy, good girl orientation. Stage 4, law and social order. Stage 5, legalistic social contract. And last stage is stage 6, the universal ethical principle. The first level of reasoning is the pre-conventional moral development, which is age 4 to 10 years old. A person is motivated by obedience to authority. Commonly associated with young children, involves little thought about morality, and moral code is shaped by the standard of adults and the consequences of following or breaking the rules. The second reasoning is the conventional morality or moral development, which is age 10 to 13 years old. People focus on following social norms and customs, begin to internalize the moral standard of value adult role models. Reasoning is based on the norm of the group to which the persons belong. The last level is the post-conventional morality, which is adolescence to adulthood. People look beyond convention to determine moral norms and appropriate social interactions. Judgment is based on self-chosen principles. Moral reasoning is based on individuals' rights and justice.
The pre-conventional morality, 4 to 9 years old. So in stage 1, obedience and punishment, especially common in young children, but adults are capable of expressing this type of reasoning. At this stage, children see rules as fixed and absolute. So first is obeys rules in order to avoid punishment. Second, determine a sense of right and wrong by what is punished and what is not punished. Third, obeys superior authority and allows that authority to make the rules, especially if that authority has the power to inflict pain. Last is its response to rules that will affect his or her physical well-being. 2. Naively egotistical. At this stage of moral development, children account for individual points of view and judge action based on how they serve individual needs. Reciprocity is possible, but only if it serves one's own interest. First, is motivated by vengeance or an I philosophy. Second, self-absorbed while assuming that she or he is generous. Third, believes in equal sharing in that everyone gets the same regardless of needs. Fourth, believes that the end justifies the means. Fifth, will do a favor only to get a favor. And last, expects to be rewarded for every non-selfish deed she or he does. So for example, in stage 1, I will keep quiet so that teacher won't get mad at me. And example for the stage 2, I will let you copy mine if you do my homework.
Level 2, conventional morality 10 to 13 years old, which is stage 3, good boy, good girl orientation. This stage of moral development is focused on living up to social expectation and roles. There is an emphasis on conformity being nice and consideration of how choices influence relationship. So first is finds peer approval very important. Second is feels that intentions are as important as deeds and expects other to accept intention or promises in place of deeds. Third is begin to put himself herself in another's shoes and think from another's perspective. Stage 4, law and social order. At this stage of moral development, people begin to consider society as a whole when making judgment. The focus is on maintaining law and order by following the rules, doing one's duty, and respecting authority. First is a duty door who believes in rigid rule that should not be changed. Second is respects authority and obeys it without questions. Third is supports the right of the majority without concern for those in the minority. Last is part of about 80% of the population does not progress past stage 4. So the example in stage 3 is, I will buy the dress so that my friends will like me. In stage 4, you should not cut the class because it's against the rules.
Level 3, post-conventional morality 16 above. So stage 5, legalistic social contract. At this stage, people begin to account for the differing values, opinions, and beliefs of other people. Rules of law are important for maintaining a society, but members of the society should agree upon these standards. So first is motivated by belief in the greatest amount of good for the greatest number of people. Second, believes in consensus or everyone agrees rather than in majority rule. Third, respects the right of minorities, especially the right of the individual. Last, believes that change in the law is possible but only through the system. Next is the stage 6, universal ethical principles. Kohlberg's final level of moral reasoning is based upon universal ethical principles and abstract reasoning. At this stage, people follow these internalized principles of justice even if they conflict with laws and rules. First, believes that there are high moral principles than those represented by social roles and customs. Second, is willing to accept the consequences for disobedience of the social role he or she has rejected. Last, believes that the dignity of humanity is sacred and that all humans have value. For example, so in stage 5, it is her own decision, we should just respect that. And in stage 6, if abortion became legal in our country, I will be one of the people who will against it because it against by God's law.
So now we're going to focus about the hen's dilemma. A woman was near death from a special kind of cancer. There was one drug that the doctor thought might save her. It was a form of radium that a druggist in the same town had recently discovered. The drug was expensive to make, but the druggist was charging 10 times what the drug cost him to produce. He paid $200 for the radium and charged $2,000 for a small dose of the drug. The sick woman's husband, Hans, went to everyone he knew to borrow the money, but he could not get together about $1,000, which is half of what it cost. He told the druggist that his wife was dying and asked him to sell it cheaper or let him pay later. But the druggist said, "No, I discovered the drug and I'm going to make money from it." So Hans got desperate and broke into the man's store to steal the drug for his wife. So the question is, what would you do? From a theoretical point of view, it is not important what the participant think that Hans should do. Kohlberg's theory holds that the justification the participant offer is what is significant, the form of their response. Criticism of Kohlberg's theory of moral development. Does moral reasoning necessarily lead to moral behavior? Kohlberg's theory is concerned with moral thinking, but there is a big difference between knowing what we ought to do versus our actual actions. It is justice the aspect of moral reasoning we should consider. Critics have pointed out that Kohlberg's theory of moral development overemphasizes the concept of as justice when making moral choices. Other factors such as compassion, caring, and other interpersonal feelings may play an important part in moral reasoning. Thus, Kohlberg's theory overemphasized Western philosophy. Individualistic cultures emphasize personal rights, while collectivist cultures stress the importance of society and community. Eastern culture may have different moral outlooks that Kohlberg's theory does not account for. Thank you. Bye.